Thank you. So once again, good evening, everyone. I'm still the tutor for tonight, Yemi Ayola, and welcome to this Sunday training on Blue Sky for manual testing. And today, these are topics for the 22nd of January 2023. So today we'll be talking about test management process. Likewise, we'll be talking about parts of test management process. We'll be talking about the entry criteria, exit criteria, and we'll be talking about more in depth on the design. Then we'll Q&A session. So let's go further with this. So in this part, test management, if you can see previously, we've been talking more about different techniques, various processes, fundamental test process, test case design technique, different types of testing, SDLC. Now, we want to bring it into documentation, into the test management, into the process as testers, what we as testers do, what we as the testing do, what are the bases, what are the things that we start with first. All those processes are what is collated into test management process. So for tonight, we'll just dwell on it so that we can know exactly. I've been talking more about testing, how testing is done, what are the various techniques, how we are going to do fundamental test process, how we apply the general principles of testing. All this format, you'll be asking that. Of course, there should be a start and also there should be an end. Hence, the theory of all this test management. So this night, test management is a procedure of managing the software testing activity from start to the end. So we have started testing. We want to start testing. We've been given a project that we're going to work on. You've been divided as interns into a project team. So now you now need to know when exactly we are going to start and when we are going to end. So there, which means at every project, at every phase, there is always a timeline. There's when you're going to start, there's when you're going to stop. Now, bring it back to you as a tester. When are you going to start? When are you going to stop? So we will talk about that in our discussions tonight. The test management process provides planning, control, tracking, monitoring facilities throughout the project lifecycle. So mainly what test management is more of we incorporating all the things we have learned previously when we started software testing training. So talking about fundamental test process is going to be into this, is coming into the test management. Talking about the general principles of testing is coming into this test management. Talking about the software development life cycle and software testing life cycle, all are coming into this test process. And also the test case technique, every activities, all the approaches that we're going to take are coming into this. So it's more like a big book that is just to tell us, as in the whole thing. When I mean telling, we as testers have to prepare this document and distribute it to the whole team so that it's kind of visible. They know what exactly we are doing. They know how we are, what at every phase, this is how we are going to work because we are working with regards to time and that process. So some of the parts of test management process are, we've got two main parts: planning, execution. If you can remember vividly, fundamental test process, you've got 5 of them: test planning and control, test analysis and design, test implementation and execution. 1 to 3. planning, execution. So all these are in these phases. So we've got two of them, planning and execution. In planning, we've got risk analysis, test estimation, test planning, test organization. Now, in execution, we've got test monitoring and control, issue management, test reports, and evaluation. So, risk analysis. When we are talking about the risk analysis, we as testers, before you start testing, you need to start thinking of the risk associated with this. So this is more of you analyzing. That's the first step taken by whosoever is going to design or whosoever is leading the project in terms of testing. It could be the test manager, it could be a test lead. If you're the only one there, then it is on you to do it. So it could be anyone. Even there might be a test manager, but you could be assigned to do it. So at that phase, we need to consider the risk. We need to add risk as part of our analysis when we are preparing or planning our testing. So at this time, I'll go further to talk about testing and risk. So when we are talking about testing, we cannot forget to check the risk. So while you are testing, always have it at the back of your mind that you need to validate, you need to check the risk. So an example will be predominantly like you are testing an application. You don't forget, this time around, let me take you back to when we were dealing with consequences of not testing. Why we need to test. We're talking about the consequences. I mentioned few examples there, which I said loss of business reputation, loss of money, loss of life, injury, death. So all these are incorporated. They are the risk behind it. So the way you're going to test an application varies. So what do I mean is that you've got a financial application that's got to do with payment. You have to do a rigorous testing to ensure that the payment part of it is properly tested so that there will be no issues at the end that we are actually when we are testing, so that there will be no issues. That's the reason that we you need to test that part. Now let's take an example again. You're doing a website. If it's not more of maybe just a small website, you're working on it. You know the way you're going to test a financial application that has to do with money will be kind of different from the way you're going to test the one that is a website. Of course, the website, just for us to be able to log in and see some things, it doesn't have any much impact than the way you're going to test a financial application. So at this phase, let's just get a clear understanding of what risk is. It's a factor that could result in future negative consequences, usually expressed as impact and likelihood. So you can foresee that if we don't test the payment system in the financial, in the financial platform or the application that you're working on, this could lead to loss of money. People can get in there. So you have to think ahead that, we just need to. The negative consequences of this if you don't test that part of the payment properly. Hence, the theory of risk and testing. So you have to be looking at both when you are testing. Risk and testing work hand in hand. Now let's move further. Let's talk about the test estimation. At this phase, I'm just going to just give you an overview here. Then later on, I will break it down at the final part. So test estimation. What is estimation? You are estimating, looking at how things are going to be. What are the estimates when it comes to you testing? So these are going to be determined by some types of method, some types of data, some things that are expected. This test estimation is going to be driven by them. So let's take a view of a test case that we have developed. And you have written maybe like 5 test cases. That is what you have taken, 5 test cases that you need to execute. You need to do an estimation after you have finished executing it to say X number of test cases passed. This is run. This is blocked. You need to give an analysis of it. You need to give that this is what has been achieved while you were testing. These are your coverages. This is what was done. Hence, we need to use this test estimation technique. Now, you'll be asking that, do we really need this estimation test technique? What exactly is the benefit? Why do we need it? If you are testing, as I've said, you are testing within the team. There are wider audience out there waiting for the results of what you're testing. Because when you're testing, application is not live yet. People are waiting for this application to be live. Hence the reason you are in the project. Now you have been divided into project teams. The product owner, the business as a whole, we all are waiting for that application to be live. That's the reason you are drafted into the team. So while we know you are testing, we know development is going on, we know every requirement gatherings, everything is going on, fine. But we need to see the end product. But before then, we need to carry everyone along so that they will know that, yes, this is what we are doing. Okay, we have tested this subset. So those estimation needs to be clearly stated to the wider team, to the stakeholders, to everybody at large when it comes to development team and also to the business at whole. So the benefits of these are accurate test estimation leads to better planning, execution, and monitoring of tasks under a test manager's attention. The test manager, the clarity you can give to the business is to say, we have written 1,000 test cases. At this moment, this is what we have done because these are the functionalities that have been delivered. We have executed 400 out of it. And out of the 400, let's say it means 40% of it have been executed. We still have further development coming on. All these are into consideration when it comes to planning. It gives a good estimate and it helps in better planning, execution, and monitoring. At this phase, you can know if you don't need a test case, we can remove it quickly. All these are part of the things that we can know. It allows for more accurate scheduling and help realize results more confidently. That is the benefit of this test estimation. Now, that takes us further to the third one, which is test planning. This test planning is going to be a different topic where you are going to have more of the test plan document going to be written as a workshop for you to be able to write a test plan. But in a test plan can be defined as a document describing the scope, what exactly do we want to do, the approach we are going to take, what levels of testing are we going to do, the resources Who are the people going to work on this project team? Who are going to be the developers? Who are the business analysts? People we can talk to, and also the schedule. What is our timeline? We are going to write X number of test cases. This is what and what, so we can put those estimation into the test plan. So a project may fail without a complete test plan. I agree with that, because if you don't have a complete test plan, because test plan is meant to have been reviewed by everyone, let them bring their comment in. So the way it's done is that when test plans are written, when they are designed, you send it out to the wider team, everyone that is involved. Let them read, this is what we are going to do. Is there any gap? Review and comment. If they don't understand anything there, we need to explain to them. If we need an addition or update to the test plan, we will be told by the wider team. By the time you are, everyone has an idea that this is what is going to be delivered from the testing team. And hence, that's what that's the way the test plan is going to be structured. If you have a good test plan, it doesn't mean that everything will go right. There are some, it could be you can drift. Timelines can be moved. You might not meet the deadline, but all those things are part of things that are under this test planning. That's where you have the control and monitoring session. As you are testing, you need to be looking. We said within 2 days, we are going to finish X number of test cases. Is it still the same as at today? No, it's not. It's exceeding to 3-4 days. You need to be transparent. Oh, our testing is going to be moved to 3-4 days due to the fact you give a reason. Development was it was delivered to us lately. We had a blocker. There were some showstoppers. We weren't able to access the environment. Hence, we have to move it, because for day one, we didn't do anything. Day two, half of the day was still on fixing the environment. So we've just got half day. So it's moved to another 2 days for us to have to be able to test. So that is the way you communicate in terms of this planning. So it gives you, we know that that's why there are contingency planning. You have to have a backup. We know plus or minus will be added to when we are testing. So, but we just want to make sure that everyone is aware. Hence, the reason for this process. In software testing, a test plan gives detailed testing information regarding an upcoming testing effort, including test strategy, test objective, exit/suspension criteria. So exit is stop, suspension. Maybe there are a lot of bugs. There's no point going further if you're still finding bugs. It means things are not right. Why not suspend testing? Let them go. Let it go back to the developers, fix whatever they've done, and come in. An example is that maybe you're working on a project. Within 2 hours, you found 25 to 50 bugs. There's no point continuing, because the more you continue, even if you continue the whole day, you find 100 bugs. Is it worth continuing? That's the way we analyze things. So from your perspective, if you find those outrageous amount of bugs at once, it means is either the code deployment was not done properly, or else something is not right for you to have that. Because my belief is that unit testing should have captured more than half of those bugs. So why are we having them out there? So those are the questions that you need to ask. So instead of you further testing, if you're asked, what is your opinion, hear me. In 2 hours, I found 50 bugs. It's happened to me previously. 50 bugs, and I was called into a meeting just immediately to ask, what is your take on this? At this time, I know I'm the person that can, everyone manage, just keep doing it. There's no point continuing to do it. In less than 2 hours, I've raised 50 bugs. So if I continue to do it the whole day, I'm going to raise over 200 bugs. So if I've done 200 bugs, can we continue that way? Send it back. So when I was asked, we can suspend testing for now. Let's go back. Let it go back to development, and let's see What do you think? I feel maybe they should look at the deployment process properly and send it back. And everything will go back to the process. Also, we talk about resource planning. What is resource planning? You and I, we are testers. We are part of the resource. As long as it's fully hands-on, I'm there, you are there. So we need to know who and who is going to partake in this project, what your roles are, who are going to test. Okay, 2 people are going to test. Maybe later on, we are going to need 2 more people to help us. You need to put those things as part of the plan. Test deliverables. What are the things that are going to be delivered? So all these are then the last of it all is test organization. So it's a procedure of defining roles in testing process. It defines who is responsible for what activity in the test process. Test functions, facilities, and activities are also explained in the same process. So Yemi will be testing in project A. Tester 2 will be also testing in project A. We have a data analyst that is going to be helping out in terms of data. So all those roles needs to be defined. The business analyst is going to be there. Who is the scrum master in place? Is going to be there. Who is the product owner? We need to know. So all these roles need to be defined in our. So it's more of the organization. Who is responsible for this? Then the next thing, that's the end of planning session. So the next thing, let's talk about the execution phase. What is the execution phase? Test, monitoring, and control. So what this entails is that we are testing. While testing, we need to be monitoring it and controlling it. Now, this takes us back again to where we started from, fundamental test process. It says test, planning, and control. So as you're planning, you need to be monitoring it, you need to be controlling it. So we are monitoring, looking at it. Okay, at this phase, I've got X number of days. 2 days can be added. All right, if 2 days is added, it means it shifted the ones that were in those 2 days. So we need to move it a bit. So all those things are the way it works. So you need to be given the exact, not exact, but the way things are going needs to be communicated to everyone. You should have a schedule to show that this is how testing is going on. This is how testing is going in day 1 of the testing, which is today, Sunday. We have started testing. Okay, we don't have the test environment yet. We can't do anything. Yes, of course, we started designing our script, but we've not started execution. The next thing, day 2, nothing yet. We have not gotten it. Day 3. Meanwhile, in your own schedule that you have done previously, you have already estimated by day 1, once we have the test environment, we can hit the ground running and start testing. But all that has not happened until day 5. So we know we are 5 days behind. So we need to let people know. So what will you do when your project runs out of resources or exceed the time schedule? So that's why I said initially that when your resources, maybe your 2 people will be able to test. That's the resources that you have as at the time those were the people drafted to the project. Like now, you might be 4 in the project, you might be 2 in the project. If you are writing the test plan and you know you will need some more people to help you test later on, you can add it to say, when testing starts, we might need 2 people, 2 more testers to join us. So you need to let them know if you have resources. When you're exceeding the time, you need to let them know. You need to monitor and control tests activities to bring it back on schedule. So you should be conscious of it when you are testing. Be looking at it Your schedule should be going up and down. You must look at it and be sure it is. Test monitoring and control is a process of overseeing all the metrics necessary to ensure that the project is running well on schedule and not out of budget. So the next thing, just to make it more, is let's go more on to monitoring. Is a process of collecting, recording, and reporting. That is what it is. So you are collecting, you are recording it, you are reporting it. So now we have executed 3 test cases. We have not started executing. We are stuck at the 3rd test case as this is not available for us. So all those, you need to record it properly. It could just be once you find that you are blocked, once you find that you cannot proceed, it should be an escalation point. You should escalate to say, I am blocked. Don't sit on it. Nobody is going to know if you're blocked. If you sit on it and nobody knows that you are blocked and it's not escalated, forget it. You are not competent enough, because that's where transparency, you need to let people know what exactly is happening at every moment. You are blocked, raise it out immediately so that others can. It might be on you only. It might be on everyone, but if you raise it up and every other person checks and find out they too also cannot do the same thing, why? Immediately, things like that in less than 1-2 hours, except if it's something that they cannot resolve, they will after 5, 10, 15 minutes, if they can't do anything, emails will be flying to say, yes, we are blocked here, we need to do this. Then people will ask them, how many days, how many hours do you need? We need 6 hours, we need 8 hours. We know the whole of that day is gone. So everybody will know that, yes, we are blocked there, and they'll try to resolve any impediment as quickly as possible. So never, anything you see that you're blocked, escalate it, talk, let people know. I'm blocked at XYZ. When I mean blocked, you cannot proceed. So to monitor, Test Manager does this following. 1, they define the project goal or the project performance standards. They observe. What do they do when they observe? The project performance and compare between the actual and the planned performance expectation. So now, actual, we have started the project. Previously, your test plan is based on the expected. Your test plan, when it was designed, it was the expectation. Those were just premonitions or dates that, according to the project, if everything is happy, it goes as expected. But now, this is your actual, this is the real world. Now you've started using it, but this is what it is. So you need to be observant as a project manager, as a test manager or lead. Record and report any defect, any detected problem which happens to the project. So once you find any problem, record it immediately. You have a log list. You can record it. If you're going to raise it as a defect, whatever phase you want to take it, you raise it immediately and you report it. Now, issue management is the next one we are actually looking at when it comes to the execution phase. As mentioned in the beginning of the topic, all projects may have potential risk. That's what I've said. When this risk happens, it becomes an issue. Don't forget, that's where error, defect, failure process comes in. In the life cycle of any project, there will always be an unexpected problem and question that crop up. Let's take an example. The company might cut down your project budget. So now maybe you've lost 1 tester or you've lost 2. So of course, things will be slow if you don't have the proper resources. Your project team lacks the skills to complete the project. Skills may be lacked in the project schedule. is too tight for your team to finish the project at the deadline. So all this might be an example of the issues that you might get. So we as testers now, what is the risk? The risks to be avoided: missing the deadline, exceeding the project budget, lost the customer's trust. If you lose the customer's trust, it's key. Even you as a tester, when you join a team, they need to trust you first. Trust is not all about money. It's how you carry out your work. That's the way. Your deliverables all depends on the trust. So if they know you are actually looking, testing accordingly, appropriately, then people will trust you. Then they at least they'll, oh, she knows what she's doing. Okay, quickly send this to her. That's the way. So those are the key things we should be avoiding. Missing the deadline. Let's just manage. We know things happen. So, but let it be known. What I do I'm just saying it from my own, it's just me. Instead of me to miss deadline, because I know it's crucial, I can still extend it for maybe like a week. But before I extend it for a week, I can tell you predominantly, I must have finished all the testing phases that I need to complete. That week is just that I want to get more to do my tidy up, prepare every document I want to do. That is my end of the week. If I need a week extra, but I'm just saying it from my own view. But others, you might add some more days. Maybe you want to work weekend. You need more people more helping hands. All this can help you with deadline to do. And when they say exceeding budget, if you bring people in and you finish quickly, the budget, you are still within, you might still fall within the budget. But if you have one person that is taking long to finish up things, it might take time. So the next thing is test report and evaluation. What is this? So at every phase, when you finish, let's say you're in a circle, you finish up, you started testing. Once testing starts, you should try as a tester. You can, while you are doing all this, you can prepare your template down. It could be just one sheet or two PowerPoint sheets just to display your test report. It gives everybody to know that on the 22nd of January, this at the end of day, it could be at 5, it could be at 4:30. Send out the report to everybody. This is what we have achieved today. Is it green? Is it amber? Is it red? Red means maybe you couldn't go further. You are exceeding the deadline. But if it's still green, your things are going as expected. If not, if they are shaky playing, you have a lot of 7s and 2. You could put it in amber. So just one page to just give simple overview of what you've tested for the day. Just do it. Your test cases are already there. Extract the reports of your test cases to just say X number has been achieved today, and these are the defects that we have. All it gives everybody day 2. Just change the date, change what has been done, and you continue the same phase. By the time you finish testing, everybody knows what you're doing already. It's clearer to people. We know, okay, they did how many X number of test cases today. So tomorrow we're expecting more. So all this has to be in place when it comes to that. So the project has already completed. It's now time to look back what you have done. What have been done? What have we achieved? So the purpose of test evaluation report is test evaluation describes the results of testing in terms of test coverage. So I'm going to deep down into test coverage and exit criteria. The data used in test estimation evaluation are based on the test result data and test result summary. So let's go to coverage. What is test coverage? Is defined as a metric in software testing that measures the amount of testing performed by a set of tests. We have our requirements, we've got our user stories. We need to know the coverages on every of these requirements, the stories that you have done. Don't forget, we talked about test traceability matrix. We've got our TTRM. We've got some people call it traceability matrix, which I did talk about when we were talking about the software testing life cycle. At that phase, you've taken login functionality. We need to know, is it covered? Is that type set of tests being covered? You need to know the coverage as it. In the registration, as it be covered in the search functionality, we need to know how many test cases, what was covered. Just more of a mapping to all the requirements. That's what gives you for us to have a visibility that we've got good number of coverages on all the user stories that we have, on all the requirements that we have. It will include gathering information about the parts of the programs are executed when running the test suite to determine which branches of conditional statements have been taken. So test coverage is just mainly block, let's know exact things that have been covered when it comes to testing. What test coverage does. So we were talking about estimation earlier. When estimating, we need to really think about coverage and how it helps. What test coverage does. It finds the area of requirements not implemented by a set of tests. So for instance now, maybe you might have forgotten that login functionality, you didn't have a test to it. You might think you have. Honestly, you might think you have, which you believe that you have written. But when you are doing a traceability matrix, you would know. By that time, if you are looking for login test, there are no login test here. That gives you an edge to know that you have not covered that test. Immediately, you can start writing the test to it. I always advise this is done prior to when you start, immediately you start your prep, your testing preparation, which means in terms of designing your script, take your user, make sure an associated test is to it. And do you know what I don't want you to do in this intern? Please, when you write a test case, don't write the heading alone. Write a step to validate that test case. Don't just put, because login is there, you just say user able to log in, simple. And you didn't write any steps to derive it. No, if I see that when I'm going through that, unfortunately, that person is going to rewrite that script 20 times. That will be the punishment. 20 times once you are in the intern. So if you write a script, write a step to validate those scripts. That's the essence of it. You can't just write a placeholder and put a placeholder there. User able to, when I go inside, I can't find anything. No, it's not done. So that's the way it should. You should be able to trace it. Help to create additional test cases to increase coverage. That's the essence of the identifying the quantitative measure of test coverage, which is an indirect method for quality check. Don't forget, when we are testing, we're checking the quality, we're checking the risk, we're checking whether Testing is enough for me. Sorry. Identifying meaningless test cases that do not increase coverage. These are what test coverage helps us to do. What are the benefits of test coverage? We've got lots of it. It can assure the quality of the test. It can help identify the portion of the code where actually touched for the release of fix. It can help determine the parts in your application that were not tested. So you can see, you can prevent the defect leakage. So from there, you will know once you're doing it. Time, scope, and cost can be kept under control. That's the essence of test coverage. So if we know in login, we've got 250 tests to validate login, then we can know what exactly, how many days, how many people are going to work on this. So it helps for us to know scope and time. Defect prevention at an early stage, it can determine all the decision points and parts used in the application. Gaps in the requirements, test cases, and defects at the unit level and code level can be found in an easy way. Hence, the theory of test coverage. That's the benefit of it. Now, let's take it further to test management. We are still all this is still all about test management. So at this phase, we are going to deep down more into test estimation. So test estimation I've explained initially, but there are two processes, two approaches to it. One is a metric-based approach, and we've got the expert-based approach. So one is based on the data, and the other one is subjectivity approach. So expert-based is just your expertise is needed in this. I've done this, I've done that before. So from there, you can be able to estimate with that. So once you have you understand it, you've done it before, you have a better view and understanding of it. You can state it to say, yes, with that, we can use X number of days to do this, to do that, because you are experienced in that phase. Now, let's take it to metrics-based. Metric-based approach. That's where I was telling you initially that this will need data to be able to collect all the information. Now, some of the data that it will include when we are talking about metric-based. Now, you ask the number of test conditions. How many test conditions have you written? Maybe you've written 50 test conditions. You need to state the number. Number of test cases written, 500. So like that. Number of test cases executed. Now we need to be sure. How many has been executed? Oh, 438. The time taken to develop the test cases, we now need to know when you were designing your test cases, what are the time it has taken to design it? So all this has to be put into consideration. The time taken to run the test cases, how many times? What are the things then the number of defects found, maybe during the whole process while testing, you found like 50 bugs in total or 100 bugs in total. Then the environment outrage and how long an average each one lasted. So that is where you are blocked. How long did it take? 24 hours, 2 days, 3 days. So all these are just ways to collect the data when it comes to test estimation. If you look at all this, it's already giving you a clue to know the end point, to know where exactly we are going to. If you know X number of test cases, I said 438 of them passed. We have run 438. I've not given you the analysis, how many passed, how many failed, how many blocked. So, but we have given you that this is it. We have found 100 bugs. Now, environmental outrage was like it happened severally, maybe like it took 3-5 days. Those are the things that you want to put when it comes to metrics-based approach. Now, let's move further. Entry criteria. What is entry criteria? Entry criteria is used to determine when a given test activity can start. Entry, enter. When I can start. When testing can start. This could include the beginning of a level of testing, when test design, and when the test execution is ready to start. So there are some things. Entry criteria is mainly testing. Yes. What is yardstick to know if you're ready when testing is meant to start? They can't tell you that you're in a project team today. You have started. Are you ready for testing? Yes, we are ready. What is the proof that you're ready for testing? That is where there are things that you ask, things that you should check within you before you can say, testing is about to start. We want to start. All test cases and test scripts are ready. So we have designed it. We are ready. Test environment is ready and stable. Fantastic. Smoke test has gone through. We have seen that the endpoints are working. Code build and deployment to the environment successful. Yes. Smoke test passed. The relevant requirement artifacts are available. These are checks you must do before you can now say you start testing. Because you can't just say, oh, we want to start testing. Nothing is being in place. Nothing. You have not done anything. You have not made it. It's just take it to a normal practical word to say, I want to cook. You just said it with your mouth. You didn't get any ingredient. You didn't get anything. Nothing to use. Do you exactly want to really cook? You've only said it, but you've not done any prep. So you need to do preparation by getting your ingredients. So entry 2 is the same way. We want to get our ingredients. So we want to be sure that, yes, everything is stable for us to start. Hence, these are the questions you ask yourself. You, as in the testing team, you need to be certain to know, are test cases ready? Are the scripts ready? Is the test environment ready? Are they stable? Code and deployment to test environment, is it successful? Smoke test, has it passed? Relevant requirements, artifacts, are they available? Then we'll say yes. So now that leads us to exit criteria. Entry, we are starting. So that's the beginning. Since we've been talking about test cases, that this place is exactly where we start our test cases from. Entry criteria. This is where we start development of our designing our test cases. Everything must have been done. Prep down. Stable environment, code has been fixed, smoke test has passed, relevant requirements and they are all available. Then we say exit criteria. Exit. You can say exit that door. Go out of that door. Stop is what exit means. At this phase, we want to stop testing. We are finished. So, exit criteria in testing are often viewed as a single document commensurating the end of a life cycle phase. So, we are finished testing. All things have been executed, so we need to bring it out to say we've ended testing. It can be defined as a specific condition or ongoing activity that should be fulfilled before completing the software testing life cycle. That's what we discussed about STLC. So STLC specifies which exit criteria is required at each testing phase. The exit criteria identifies deliverables and enable you to track them as independent events. So if you were not in a class or STLC, you could just go back and just revise and look at all the various levels we talked about when it comes to STLC, resource analysis, test planning, test case design, and what we did taught yesterday. So let's just dig further with exit criteria. You know, in entry criteria, I told you what you need to know, what needs to be ready before you can say we are starting testing. Now, the same technique has to go for exit criteria. So the following exit criteria should be considered for completion of testing phase. One, ensuring all critical test cases are passed. If you can remember, this is where we want to know prioritization. All the critical test cases, have they passed? As this, what is this that's expected? Has it passed? So we need to know. Achieving complete functional coverage, identifying and fixing high priority defects, fixing all the showstoppers defects or blockers, and ensuring that none of the identified critical or SEV1, I do SEV1 and 2 defects are in open states, then retesting and closing all the high priority defects to execute corresponding regression scenario successfully. So now, what will now tell you that these are the things that you look forward to? So like when most of the time, this could be driven by, if you've got maybe 3 or 4 people working, you've got all the development team. So, but before you can say you want to stop testing, you need to ask some question. Do we have test logs? Is a test incident report log? Is there a test incident report log? Is there a test summary report? Finding out all these 3 has to be logged down. So in log, we need to know what exactly has happened in the process. Have we achieved all what we needs to be achieved? Are there any showstopper? Are there any blockers? Are the SEV1s, are they fully retested as regression phase completed? All this needs to be checked. So at the logs, you could break it down to ask questions. This is what you want. Then, is there an incident report log? What happened? Different environment? What are the issues that we have? Test summary reports and finding the reports. So that takes us to the end of the test management. And predominantly, where exactly I'm just trying that we should really concentrate more on the test estimation. Test estimation, I'm still going to explain that in the next class when we are talking about test case design and when we are doing it in the practical workshop. So that will be talked about. Can you please mute, please? So in that estimation, we're going to talk about how you estimate in waterfall approach and also in agile approach. All this will be put into consideration when you're doing the estimation, just for us to know how to estimate when it comes to each of our tasks as a test team. So you need to know how to estimate, like if you are given a login functionality, if you are given a registration, maybe you are working on login functionality, you need to know how to estimate it. If you're working on registration, and registration could vary. Some might be just setting maybe 4 to 5 fields. While other registration could be 2 or 3 pages. So the way you are going to test both registration is going to vary. One is going to take longer than the other. One needs some field to validate this. So you need to test intensively than the one that just needs 3 or 4 fields. Name, last name, email, enter. That is happy part. It's very easy, right? Regardless of the one, first name, last name, middle name, father, mother, link, all those things. So that takes you another phase. So it depends when you are estimating when it comes to the approach. But not to worry. We here is going to be more of agile approach that you're going to be using. So it's going to be your point base or story point. It depends on how your Scrum Masters are going to do that. But I would tell you predominantly when you're estimating, you could do something logically. Like sometimes when developers estimate, we as testers too could be close to it. We could estimate in that format. But I would explain that further in tomorrow's class. So let's go to it. So we're going to finish tonight's class in this phase, which is test level. Test level, we've got 4 types of test level. So they are mainly the test levels that we use predominantly. And is in sequence. They follow, if you're building a block, the first one you're going to build is unit testing. That's the first block you're going to put on the floor. Or maybe you want to pile a table or you want to pile cups. The first one you're going to put, the big one you're going to put down is the unit testing. Unit testing, this is predominantly like you testing in components, in models, in little, testing some subset of code, testing another subset of code. Let's take an example. You want to work on login. We've got login, we've got registration, we've got adding to cart, we've got payment in the application you're testing. In the application you're going to work on. So unit testing, when the developers are doing this, it is done in models, in components. That is the way it is easier for them to debug quickly so that they will know that, yes, oh, login, that's the login scenario. They've named it to follow suit. So at the login, they will test that code, build that code, and test that login code and make sure it is working. That is login. That code is seated. So we have a working login code. That's registration. They will test that set again, execute it, compile it, load it, and everything is working as expected again. We have a working registration code. Now go to payment. We also have a working payment code. So they are done in bits, in modules, components, in units, small, little by little, just to validate each of the tests, each of the scenarios they have done. That is the way unit testing is. The aim is to test each part of the software by separating it. It checks that components are fulfilling functionalities or not. So when you check that that is fulfilling this functionality, is fulfilling that functionality. So, okay, login functionality is working as expected. Registration functionality is working as expected. The payment functionality is working as expected. Adding to carts functionality is working as expected. These are the kind of testing that is performed by the developers. Let's take it to another level, integration testing. Now, furthermore, because we're coming from the unit testing, I want to take the next block. I want to put the next block on. The unit testing was the first block. The next block I'm going to put on it is integration testing. How does this work? So the block one, unit testing, is the base. That's the way, that is where it is coming from. Now, integration testing. Not to forget, we have done login. Login code the developers have done is already in bits. Is already in bits. Now they need to bring them together so that we can have a working system in front. So registration, login, payment, land page, everything has to be incorporated together. They need to flow. It needs to be a journey. So that is where they do the integration testing. So it follows suit what is expected at each phase. After if you are not registered, I mean, if you're a new member, you register. If you register, it takes you to login page. From the login page, you are able to access the landing page. From there, you are able to add to cart. From there, you are made to make a payment. That is a flow. That is a journey. That same journey, they need to integrate it together to form that journey. Hence this. So integration means combining, bringing them together, combining everything we have done. For example, in testing phase, different software modules are combined and tested as a group to make sure that the integrated system is ready for system testing. Integration testing checks the data flow from one module to the other. So this kind of testing is performed by the testers. So now, the next one is system testing, the integration testing. The third block we want to put on our block, on our table, is the system testing. Now, all these have been integrated. From unit testing has been integrated. Now we want to see it in them. So system testing is performed on a complete integrated system. It allows checking systems compliance as per the requirements. So now we have the requirement, we have our requirement, we now have the system. So we are checking in between to make sure that everything is as expected. So login functionality, yes, is now working as expected. I can use it, character, I can log in, I can register, I'm seeing the landing page. That is what we are looking at. So I'm looking at the requirement. I'm also doing my system test just to ensure both. So you are doing a validation, a verification and validation at this phase. Then it tests the overall interaction of the components. It involves load, performance, reliability, usability, and security testing. System testing most often the final test to verify that the system meets the specification. Hence, that is what system testing. It evaluates both functional and non-functional testing. And last of it all is the acceptance testing. Acceptance testing. Acceptance. Now we are certain that the testing has been conducted, requirements or specification is being met and delivered. We now need to invite the client, the users, the people that are going to use this application to come and test it. Let's know their feedback. I, as a tester, might not capture what they want to. So they know the system, they know what they're expecting. We invite them over. We have done it now. This is your part to the acceptance testing. And that's the way the fourth block lays on it. So at this phase, the fourth block is now with the client. So acceptance testing is conducted to find if the requirements of a specification or contract are met as per its deliverable. Acceptance testing is basically done by the user or customer. However, other stakeholders can be involved in this process. You and I can also, business can do, so it depends. So that is it for tonight's lecture. So I'm going to say a very big thank you to you all. And the part that we're waiting for is the Q&A session. Let me go back to the question. Let me the first. You can just raise your hand, then we can talk. Yeah, let me see what's in the chat. Okay, sorry. Are you using the same link? I think all this has been answered before.